Good morning and welcome to the show. It's Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. Hello. Sorry, a bit disheveled this morning. Just got back from the train station. I've got a copy of the Metro though. If anyone wants a copy of the Metro, we can do the crossword together later. Hey, how you doing? It is Wednesday, the 6th of 6th of May 2026. You are watching Morning Brew, as I've said. And in the chat, we have Phil Crossley, we have Tim Becks, we have Gallifreyan Ren. We also have Vegan Elite in there. Hello, we've got Pete Denkart as well. We've got SG saying morning all. What the fuck world we live in. Light and peace, says Ernie Burns. Hey, listen, it's not all bad. There's a lot of nice people out there. It's just that the gobshites are louder. But nice to have you with us this morning. Today we're going to be talking about one of my sort of, both one of the things I'm very passionate about. One of the things I'm both very passionate about, and it's sort of, obviously one of my pet peeves when people try to stand in the way of people exploring our planet, people traveling, people going on holiday, because holidays are something that the rich don't want the rest of us to have. They don't want us to have holidays. They don't want us to go anywhere. They don't want us to fall in love with someone from another country, another land, learn another culture, another language. I was thinking about that thing we were talking about on the Saturday Night Social. I think we mentioned it last night, the idea that we could have a film where you get some Mark Francois type who's dressed up like a crusader, and some time traveller comes and goes, "Oh, I need you to help with the crusade." And they get taken back to the 1300s to go and join this crusade, or even the 12th century, was it the crusade? The 12th century, and they end up getting dragged along, and they can't speak the language, and maybe Richard Lionheart is there, but he only speaks French because he could only speak French, and somehow through just sheer dumb luck, they get all the way to Jerusalem. They're in the court of Saladin, and he manages to escape, and he gets back to Britain. And he's like, oh, just man, he's covered in fucking bruises and scars, and he's all covered in, and he's like, oh, I made it back from the Crusades. And then someone comes over and says, why don't you speak our language? And then kills them. And that's the end. Because the old English didn't sound like the English that we speak today. Or would it have been Middle English? That would have been Middle English, wouldn't it? Yeah. And that was a wordy man. Anyway, so any relations to Frank Marquardt? Yes, indeed. That'd be a great thing. But the rich, the powerful, they don't want you to travel. And how many times do you have to see this play out time and time again? They don't want you to go anywhere. This is why the rich, privileged, privately educated, millionaires and billionaires out there sit at absolute antithesis to me, because they want you to believe that you can only go and see the world if you're filthy rich. That is the lie that they are perpetuating, because they hate the fact that when they get on their aircraft and they sit in their first class seats that, fold out into fucking beds, right? With they hate the fact that there's poor people in the back, povos in the back, the disgusting hoi polloi, the plebs in the back. Oh, do we have to travel with the plebs? Can't we lock them away in the steerage? They hate it. You've got to understand, and I'll keep saying this till I'm blue in my face, it's not enough for them to win. Everyone else has to lose. They don't want to have to share their aeroplane with the likes of us. They want their lives to be completely separated. They don't want us on the plane. They don't want us on the train. Obviously, that's why it costs £386 to go from Manchester to London these days on the train, one way, not in first class, just, maybe getting a seat. Maybe not. Maybe you have to stand up the whole way. I don't know. But this isn't an accident. This is not an accident. The modern authoritarian right, Trump, Farage, Brexiters, oligarchs, petrobillionaires are building a world where ordinary people are not just poorer, but they are also more isolated, less educated, less safe, less mobile, and easier to control. Because if you have someone who has never been anywhere, never left the village, they are much, much easier to scare with the shadows on the walls of the cave to say, oh no, don't go out there. They'll get you. Go to that there London. Oh, they'll get you. You'll be dead by dawn. Like they'll just eat you alive. Well, here's the thing, right? When I was interviewed years ago by a guy working for Le Monde in France about Brexit, he asked me this very interesting question. He said, what does the EU mean to you? And I said, well, if you ask that to a lot of British people, they'll say it's a trade thing. But for me, it's not. For me, it represents freedom, because for me, travel is freedom, and the ability to go and live and work in all these other countries around the EU, that freedom that I had, that was taken from me by people who don't want to use that freedom. And that's fine. You don't have to use that freedom, but they took it away from me, who wanted to use that freedom. In fact, who did use that freedom quite a lot. It was interesting because the guy I was speaking to, he said that you say that for you it's freedom, and for a lot of people in the UK, it's just about trade. But for many of us in Europe, it's about peace. This was a French journalist interviewing me, and I completely got it. I completely got it. Those lands in Germany and Netherlands and Belgium and France, in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, Greek islands, have been absolutely torn apart by war in living memory. And I got it. Absolutely, I got it. Yeah, peace. And it's something that we don't say enough, obviously, in Britain, because we had it bad in Coventry and Liverpool and London, where they had, the blitzers. But, I mean, compare with what some of the countries that got occupied by the Nazis went through. I mean, I'm not saying it was a cakewalk, but it was nowhere near as bad as people had to live under the cosh of the Nazis. Some of the executions in the street every day. I mean, just the horrific things that happened. We know them. But for me, still to this day, I do get that side of it, and I will put peace in my top 3 things that I think about the EU and why it's so important, why it's absolutely critical, why it's such a fantastic thing that we should become part of once again as soon as possible. If we want prosperity and peace, but also freedom, because for me, travel is freedom. And when ordinary people like you and I, we travel, we meet foreigners, we learn other cultures, we realise that the propaganda that we're fed every fucking day is nonsense. We develop empathy for people from other places around the world. It's very difficult for me to read a news story from literally anywhere, except I haven't been to Greenland, so maybe I could say Greenland or Antarctica, where I don't feel a personal connection to that place. I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I met people from that place, wherever it is in the world. I've been to every country. And although, some countries I did just step over the border, but other countries I travelled through. Other countries I stayed there for days, sometimes weeks, and really got to know the place. It also, travelling also is, there's a famous line about it being fatal to prejudice, but it allows people to gain confidence in their own opinions. Because there's a lot of cowardice that goes on. I would say that anyone who's right-wing is a coward by their very nature. I think they're lazy and they're cowardly because, first of all, they can't be asked thinking of themselves, thinking for themselves. And secondly, they don't have the inner strength to think for themselves and come to their own conclusions and challenge anything that, is not coming from their source of information, their preferred source of information, be that InfoWars or Joe Rogan's bullshit fucking podcast where he platforms lunatics and who come on and say, with absolute certainty, I'm telling you this fact, which isn't a fact at all. And then you've got obviously the newspapers over here spouting their type of propaganda. The Nick Ferrari this morning on the radio was on LBC was saying, social media is nothing like the newspapers. The newspapers have to print the truth. Okay, Nick. Okay, yeah, that's right. 99% of newspapers is actually opinion. It's not telling you what happened. It's giving you their opinion on what happened. Do you remember the other day? Was it the Telegraph who had that news story about people on benefits getting more money than people working. And I was like, that's fucking bullshit. I'm going to tell you now, that is bullshit. Well, I dug into it. Do you know what it was? There's a handful of people who have disabilities that are so severe, they cost over £100,000 a year, sometimes even 200,000, even more, for that person to live in any kind of painless dignity. Okay, and they cherry picked, right? And then if you delve into the actual article that they put up, it gets even worse, because what they did is they said, here are the people taking all this money from the government, you know, these scroungers, these people on Benefit Street, taking all this money that could have been spent on defence, which is a mad thing to put. So they had, first of all, they had a line of I should have got the graphs up to show you, but they had a line that was up here that was like, this is how much we give in benefits. That line on benefits also included pensions, because pensions are a benefit. And then it had defence. So if pensions and benefits or whatever, it was like 400 billion or whatever is spent a year, and then defence is 50 billion. Obviously, the defence line was a lot lower. You know, it includes pensions as well. But that more than that, you could make a graph, and someone that's actually done this, they made a graph and said, well, let's compare it with how much you spend on children, children's education, children's vaccinations, children's medications. Let's see how much, right? Compare it with defence spending. Defence spending was right up here, 50 billion, whatever it is. Spending on children, right down at the very bottom. Just scrabbling along the bottom axis, the bottom of the y-axis. I just like... sorry, it would have gone along the x-axis. They're scrabbling on the bottom of the x-axis. Unfucking-leavable, the way they put it. And they did a bit in the same article. And what they did was they had a percentage, right, of different ethnicities and how much of them were claiming benefits. And they had bands for, like, the ones who were getting £12,000 or less a year, and the ones over 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, whatever it was, right? And they had white at the top, was just tiny, and then they had Pakistani like this, and then they had, like, at the bottom was like Bangladeshi, which just went off the fucking chart, right? Dig down into that a little bit. It was a percentage of the people in that ethnic group. Overall, the number of people from Bangladesh claiming any kind of benefits was absolutely fucking tiny. Overall. And if you flip it around and say, well, how many absolute number of white people are claiming benefits, it was off the end. Like, there wasn't enough room on the graph to fit that number in. It was so big. And leave any kind of measurable metric for Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, etc. And there are a lot of other factors in that as well, in that, you know, of people who claim benefit. Well, it's a lot harder to claim benefit if you're from another country. It's more difficult, so less people that claim it. So it's like, of the people of this minority who claim benefits, X many get this, X many get that. So what's happened there is your Bangladeshis, the people who are getting these massive benefits, right, are usually people who are severely disabled. They don't tell you that. But this is the Telegraph, which is, you know, right on fucking newspaper, right? Yeah, gets it all right, does it, Nick Ferrari? Privately educated, of course. Does this newspaper have to tell the truth? Well, not really. Is there any kind of, like, actual impediment to them telling the truth? No, well, you know, they might, you know, they hack a dead child's phone and disrupt the investigation into her murder. I suppose there could be theoretically some kind of punishment that will be meted out, but you know, what we'll probably do is we'll just make stuff up about celebrities, we'll tap their phones, we'll listen into their private messages, we'll ruin their lives. Like, I know we've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with our celebrities, right? I know that happens, whatever. People fall out of love with celebrities all the time, right? But here's the thing, right? There were celebrities 20 years ago. There was a woman who got pregnant, and I think she had an abortion, and she didn't tell anyone but her mum. That was the only person in the world who knew that she had had an abortion. And then the next day, she opens the newspaper, and there's a story about her having an abortion. And what would be your first thought? If the only other person who knew you had an abortion was your mum, what would be your first thought? Exactly. You saw relationships breaking down when the reality was the fucking newspapers have been hacking into people's phones and reading their private messages, listening into their private conversations, accessing their voice, their mailboxes. But if you are so fucking lazy and feckless and weak and puny and cowardly that you sit there in your fucking easy chair going, please tell me what to think, Rupert Murdoch. Please tell me, Daddy Murdoch. I can't use my own brain that God gave you. Okay. Can't use your own, so lazy. They can't be bothered finding out for themselves. They watch a YouTube video, he says, ironically on YouTube, but they watch a YouTube video and they're like, oh yeah, that's it. That's got all the answers. And they dismiss people who have studied that particular field of science since they were 11 years old, culminating in a PhD at the age of 27. They dismiss what they say. They call them boffins. I don't have to listen to you. I've watched a YouTube video. Drives me up the fucking wall. Drives me up the fucking wall. So yeah, get people travelling, fatal to prejudice, gain a bit of fucking confidence, learn to question nationalism, learn to question authoritarianism, realise that in some other countries, they do things better. Make some notes. Make some notes of the better things they do in other countries. Where you go, that's a good idea. Take it. Fucking take it. You can't copyright an idea, for fuck's sake. And I'll tell you what, travel makes people a lot harder to manipulate. I'll tell you that now. That's one of the problems we have on the left, ironically, is that people are difficult to manipulate. People tend to be more free thinkers. They tend to think for themselves. A lot of people who call themselves free thinkers are someone who's watched a video on YouTube and completely believes it no matter what. And if you question them in any way, they go fucking bananas. You know, how dare you? How dare you? Okay, explain to me without referring to the bullshit in that video, just using truth bombs. I just want to hear the truth. Just tell me the truth, right? Justify your argument. They can't. They get really angry with you. I mean, I've had people get physically violent with me because I've just said to them, can you prove that? That's all I've said. I've not called them a dickhead. I've not made fun of them. I've not pulled their pants down and pulled their pants up back. I've not pulled their underpants over their head and behind. I've just said, can you prove it? Come on, can we look at some proof? And I've had it where I've brought up a fucking Wikipedia page. And I've had people refuse to look at my phone. I'm not looking at that. I'm not looking at Wikipedia because I've got a YouTube video. No, I read it in the paper. Like the paper's some kind of authority. And you know, as someone who has visited every country in the world without flying, travel changes you permanently. It fucking does. You know. Once you've been invited back to have breakfast with a granny in Iran, or once you've crossed through West Africa overland in set-class taxis crammed in with 16 other people, 2 chickens and a goat, once you've, sat with strangers in Central Asia enjoying their wives' spaghetti bolognese, because that happened. Once you've seen poverty off the scale, once you've seen generosity you could never fucking possibly imagine happening in your neck of the woods, it becomes a lot harder to hate foreigners on command. It makes it a lot harder to not see why people might want to move somewhere else, somewhere where they can bring up a family in peace and harmony and balance. And, it's why reactionary politics always depends on isolation. Always depends on keeping people kettled in. Look at North Korea. Can you leave North Korea on holiday? Can you fuck? Iran, people getting out of Iran because they managed to change planes in Istanbul and they leg it through the airport, so they just get on the first plane anywhere else, so they don't have to go back. Oh, powerful countries do not need to build walls to stop people coming in. Weak countries need to build walls to stop people leaving, to stop people from going out. Because xenophobia collapses beneath, under experience, under familiarity. It's very hard to hate people from anywhere in the world with any particular religion or any particular sexuality if you have a good friend, you've met someone who's been lovely, or someone who's maybe even fucking saved your life from the other side of the track. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder once you've looked people in the eye, from all the way from Chile, across South America, the Caribbean, Central America, North America, Europe, through Africa, through the Middle East, Central Asia, all the way through the Far East, Southeast Asia, all the way into the Pacific Islands, all the way to Samoa. It's a lot more difficult when you get back to go, oh, I don't like people from other countries. Oh, they're all the same. Because foreigners are no longer an amorphous fucking blob to you. They're not some nebulous idea. They're real. They're real people getting on with their real lives. They're not just a statistic. They're not just a number. And this is why the elites, the rich, landed, neo-aristocratic, privately educated elites that run everything in this country, from the transport system to the waterways to the fucking Ofcom to the government to the fucking this parliament's not too bad with the cabinet that we've got at the moment, but generally speaking, oh my god, they absolutely they dominate elite sports, they dominate our lives, they dominate films, all the directors you've ever heard of, most of the actors you see on TV, they all went to private school, mate. Most of the people presenting stuff on the radio, no, 66% of all the full-time LBC presenters went to private school. 2/3 of people on the radio you hear every day taking phone calls from us lot, from the 93% who went to state school. 66% of them went to fucking, Lord and Ladies fucking Swiss finishing school for cunts. And all they want is to fuck us over. They want to live the life of Riley and have us pay for it. And they don't want to give us a fucking inch. And now Trump's war politics are directly affecting ordinary people like you and I. The current aviation crisis stems from the instability in Iran and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Around 20% of the global fuel, as we know, goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And aviation fuel price has doubled in the last 2 months. Yesterday, gasoline at the pump in America hit an average of $4.50, which is still pretty cheap for us in the UK. But for Americans, I mean, as I say, it makes their cars a lot less fuckable. And then you've got the airlines that are cancelling routes. Lufthansa alone has cancelled 20,000 flights. Spirit Airlines in America has collapsed. BA is putting out fares warning. EasyJet is warning about volatility. And aviation works on razor-thin margins. A sudden fuel spike destroys profitability instantly. And don't forget, we've had problems before. We had that volcano, the unpronounceable volcano in Iceland that went off in, 2011 was it? And grounded all the flights in Europe for 8 days, and there was a big panic about it. But that was a localized thing. COVID, obviously, that took a lot out of the aircraft industry around the world. That actually was global, but they didn't have to fly the fucking planes with no one on them. I know they did, so that was a thing about keeping your parking space in Heathrow, but we'll talk about that another time. But the outlay wasn't costing more than actually taking people from somewhere at that time. And what you're going to see now is smaller regional routes are going to get cut first. This means fewer options, higher prices, less connectivity for smaller cities, anywhere that isn't London, and the travel centralised around wealthy hubs. Meaning, the upshot of this, of what Trump has done and why the rich, why the billionaires, why the millionaires with their fucking 17 yachts, why they love him so much, is because not only has he made them fuckloads more money. Fuckloads more money. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you are a millionaire or a billionaire, in the last 10 years, right, since Trump first got in 2016, in the last 10 years, you have made a fucking mint. Just have a look how many more billionaires there are now in the last 10 years. They are making an absolute mint. And where are they getting this money from? It's not just appearing out the magic money tree. It's money coming from us. They are squeezing us dry and then not even allowing us to marry the person we want to keep in touch with our kids in a meaningful way. No, your kids have got to go live in another country. That's your own fault for falling in love with someone from somewhere else, you stupid bastard. How dare you? How dare you fall in love with someone who's not from this, who didn't plop out their mum from down the road in the same maternity hospital. Like, seriously, this is really fucking grim. The road that they want to take us down with the absolute fucking support of, I assume, people who just don't want to go anywhere, don't want to do anything with their lives. They just want to, sit in their village, sit in the village pub, paying for their £10 fucking beer, so they can only afford one a night. They just sit there nursing it, nice warm lager by the time you finish drinking it, and just sit there being scared of everything and hating the world. And going, oh my God, there's people coming from other countries. Ah. And they want to make ordinary people like you and I, they want to stop us traveling. They want to stop us from seeing the world. Time and time again, you see it on TV. Do you get to make a travel show on TV if you went to state school? No. 9 times out of 10, no. Unless you are me and I made a travel show, never been shown on British television. It's been broadcast in 88 countries around the world, including China and India. It's literally been broadcast to over 3 billion people. Yes, 3 billion with a B. It was actually distributed by the BBC, and it's never been shown in this country. I don't know if that's because of my Liverpool accent, but I'm sure that if I knew someone who worked in the TV industry, I could say, hey, do you want to put that TV show on that you helped pay for at your license fee? You helped pay for that TV show. I didn't get paid for it, but, the production company did. Well done. Bastards. But yeah, who else? Simon Reeves. Okay, cool. It's cool. Hey, Si, listen, we're going to let you make a TV show. Oh, brilliant. It's about travel. Oh, cool. Because, he's not privately educated, you see. Unlike literally everyone else you see doing a travel show. He's not privately educated. And you go, okay, cool. Am I going to get to go to the beautiful beaches of southern Thailand? Am I going to be able to hike up the mountains in the Himalayas? No, we're going to send you to Afghanistan. And then Somalia. And then the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why? Because we're going to do a show called Holidays in the Danger Zone. So you're going to have to put your life on the line or you don't get to make a TV show. Okay, all right, well, I guess I'll do that. And the one time they get a guy to go around the world who went to state school, who gets to do the tourist stuff, the cool stuff, go and see the pyramids, go and see the Mayan the ruins in Chichen Itza, go to see Christ Redeemer up in Sugarloaf Mountain in Brazil, go and see Petra in Jordan, go and see the Great Wall of China. Yeah, that guy, yeah. And do you know what we'll call it? We'll call it an idiot abroad. The one time someone who went to state school gets to make a travel show on British television. And what do they call it? An idiot abroad. Motherfuckers. And what all these rich, wealthy twats... The question I got so much on my travels is like, how can you afford this? How can you afford this? Are you a Nepo baby? Are you a trust fund kid, right? To which I would say, no, I'm literally traveling on a shoestring. I'm not being sponsored by an oil company like other people who have done similar adventures. I'm literally paying for this out my own fucking pocket on credit cards and donations from my friends and family just to get me over the finish line. I spent about £7,000 or £8,000 a year. My total expenditure for that journey came in at just over £27,000 for 4 years and 1 month of travel. Just to put that into perspective, if you smoke and have a pet, you'll probably spend about the same amount. Staying at home, smoking and having a pet. So yeah, one of my things that I kept on saying is like, no, we can do this. You can do this. You can travel quite cheaply. You've just got to, I don't know, prepared to be a bit uncomfortable. But that's fine. I don't mind traveling a bit of discomfort. I don't mind traveling on the top of an 18-wheeler thundering through the badlands of Kenya. It's quite cool, sitting there listening to the National on me iPod as trees flap into my face. But yeah, flying used to be the privilege of the rich. In the 50s and 60s, the jet set. Remember the jet set? We're all part of the jet set now. You know who that upsets? The fucking jet set. Flying was glamorous because hardly anyone could afford it. But then cheap airlines and package deals in the 1970s, 1980s, they democratized travel. And then in the 1990s, you had Ryanair, EasyJet coming along, transforming Europe, transforming the way that we travel around Europe. Working class kids could go and see Rome and Pompeii and Herculaneum. So the people had stag do's in Prague, the Erasmus exchanges that were wiped out by Brexit, but they're coming back now. Once we sort it out, but interrailing, backpacking, interrailing became a part of growing up. You go, got to go interrailing this summer around Europe. There were massive discounts on being able to travel around Europe on the fucking trains, on unlimited travel. It was fucking amazing. Migration for opportunity. Elfrieda's saying, pet, being able to just go to some other country and fucking work, settle down, put down roots if you want to, marry someone, or even fall in love with someone from another country. And this terrified the nationalists. This terrified the rich, the powerful, the elites. And Brexit nostalgia, let's face it, it's fundamentally nostalgic for a more closed society, a more closeted society, where mental health problems aren't a real thing. You've just got to buckle up, and poverty, people had 17 children and they still managed, they were still scrubbing the front step of their house of their hovel each morning. It's taking people back to a time when there were no gays, when there were no lesbians, no trans people. They're a modern invention. Let's go back to the days when they didn't exist. Or left-handed people. Or people with diabetes, You didn't have diabetes, you just had dying people. You know what it was. Let's go back to the days when people got smallpox and fucking died. Let's go back to the days when there were no black people on the village green playing bowls. And there was no people with Pakistani heritage making delicious food. And then on the streets of Bolton. Let's go back to those fictional fucking days where everyone stayed in their village, married their sister, brought up some fucking deeply, deeply inbred children who would no doubt grow up to read the Daily Mail and vote for the fucking Tories. Or in this case, refuck. The rich hate cosmopolitanism. They hate mixed identities. They hate internationalism. They hate multilingual young people. Think about how many times you've heard the fascist right, the privately educated fascist right, like the likes of Farage, moan about people speaking other languages. And then, that line, that fucking gobshite Theresa May, privately educated, came out with when she was Prime Minister, talking about citizens of nowhere. Go fuck yourself. Honestly. One of the most disgusting things that a British Prime Minister has done, and there's a fucking long list, but one that felt particularly targeted to me was when she called me a citizen of nowhere. Go fuck off. Just fuck off, you rich, privileged. Her husband owns fucking Group 4 Security. You've got all the fucking contracts. When she was the Home Secretary, she made sure that all the contracts for prison exchanges and looking after detention centres and things like that, it was all given to G4S. It's funny that. Why that one? Why not that one in particular, Theresa? What's that about? Oh, your husband fucking owns it. All right, that's interesting. And that the right constantly mocks students, scientists, boffins, backpackers, what they call the metropolitan elite. You had someone like Dominic Cummings, privately educated, of course. I know you're sick of me saying that, but they all fucking are. If they weren't all privately educated, I wouldn't fucking say he went to a private school. What a coincidence. What's that thing that you can just draw a straight line from Nick Ferrari to Dominic Cummings to Graham Linehan? They went to a fucking private school, mate. That's how they got the foot in the door. Not necessarily through talent. They got the foot through the door because they all went to fucking school together and wanked on a cracker together. And once you wank on a cracker together, it's fucking friends for life, innit? You know, they constantly mock the... And Dominic Cummings gets into his car in London and says, I've got to get away from all these metropolitan elites. Where you going, Dommy? Where you going? Are you going to your fucking parents' palatial fucking estate just outside Durham city centre? Are you going there where they own about fucking 97 acres of fucking land? Yeah. As you're going into Meadowfield, is that on the left hand side? Is that what you're talking about? On the A67, the one that has its own fucking electric gate and a massive fucking driveway to the actual property? That one? Are you going? Oh no! Are you going to your castle? Are you? Oh right, sorry. I thought you were going to visit your parents on their fucking manor estate. No. You're going to go and live in your fucking castle because you literally own a fucking castle. But tell me that I'm the elite. Go on, fucking say it, you daft twat. Go on, fucking elites. All these elites. I've got me whiteboard. Look, I've written things on me whiteboard. Dominic Cummings is thick as pig shit. The man he's 99% ego and like 1% any kind of wits about him. He's a fucking gobshite, but he's a good talker because he's like Elon Musk in that way that he can get dickheads on side by confusing them. You know, like confuse a cat in Monty Python. They are these literal fucking millionaires. All they want to do, right, is keep the rest of us down because they've won. They won the race when they were born, so they've got nothing to fight for. They've got nothing to do except meddle in other people's lives, meddle in other people's happiness. They get off. They get sexual gratification every time they find out that a marriage failed because the British government sent one of the members of that fucking marriage to another country because that's the country that they should be in. They're not allowed to come here. I'm not going to give them settled status. I'm not going to give them indefinite right to remain. No. They need to be earning over £38,000 a year. Oh, no, not them. Sorry, you need to be earning that to have a foreign spouse. That's not a problem for the millionaires. They earn that a day. Every day. They can have German wives like, Farage. French mistresses, they like Farage. That's not a problem for them. Donald Trump can have a wife from Eastern Europe. Some miserable Russian whore of a wife. That's what he wants, He can pay for her and he can have her. I'm not saying she's Russian, but, she sounds it. Anyway, but yeah, Brexit, huge part of all this. Huge part of the plan to fuck us over, to fuck the rest of us. Reducing the freedom for ordinary Britons, taking away our right, our birthright to move unhindered around our own continent. Taken away by people who still have that right. They didn't take it from themselves. This is the equivalent of us sitting at the trestle tables with no food in front of us. And the rich at the head table eating a motherfucking banquet and saying, well, there's not enough food to go around. Om nom 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 nom. And then pointing and laughing at us. Because 52% of the people who voted in the fraudulendum voted for that. They voted for the rich to have all the food and for us to have fucking nothing. Take the right away from us, but don't take it from the rich who told you to vote for Brexit. Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, Rees-Mogg, Aaron Banks, Andy Wigmore, Richard Tice, fucking Farage. All privately educated, all born into money, all multimillionaires. All of them. Vote for Brexit, kids. Go on. Vote for Brexit. The EU's out to eat your babies. They put out adverts saying that the EU was going to take away our cups of tea. They put out adverts saying that the EU was going to kill the polar bears. In order to get people to vote to diminish their own opportunities in life, to narrow our own horizons. And it's not just like, I get Brexit shitters all the time. Well, I don't even want to live in Europe. I don't care about Europe. Europe can fuck off. I want to live in North America. I want to live in Thailand. I don't give a fuck, right? If you don't want to live there, you don't have to. If you don't want to fall in love with someone from another country, don't go to another country and fall in love. It's fine. No one's obliging you to do that. But it was nice to have the fucking option. An option that the rich have not taken from themselves. They have enough money to go and live and work anywhere they want in the world. And they have people to do the paperwork. The wealthy can still travel freely. They can still buy EU property. They can still get second passports in another country. They can still hire lawyers, relocate their assets. Ordinary Britons like you and I, we lost our freedom of movement. We lost our easy work rights, our easy study rights. We lost our cheap migration opportunities to go somewhere else when things get hard. We got kettled in. We kettled, half the population voted for this. Who voted? We lost the cultural exchange. We've made it much more difficult for British musicians to tour. Why do you think there's no bands anymore? That was a big fucking cash cow that bands used to be able to do. They used to go to Europe, fucking play some gigs, make some fucking money. Can't do that anymore. Not as easy as it used to. Used to be. Students, they lost Erasmus. Replaced by this touring scheme that was shite. No one fucking used except for the filthy rich. You had to pay thousands to get on it. Young workers lost easy access to the EU to go and work there for the summer. Get a job, working, having fun, living their life, having a laugh. But they don't want that. The rich don't want us to have fun. They don't want us to live. They just want us to survive, to just eke out an existence from one day to the next. Meanwhile, they're sitting there, these fat cats, stroking the fat cats on the lap, fucking laughing. They're pointing and laughing at us every fucking day. Every fucking day. Pensioners voted to not be able to retire in Greece or Spain or Portugal or Italy or Malta or Cyprus. They voted to not be able to do that. The same politicians who screamed about sovereignty took the sovereign rights of 99% of the population away from us. Do you think the billionaires noticed all these rights disappearing? No, because they've still got them. All of them. All the ones I just listed there. And it goes beyond that as well. You've got medical rights as well. If you're rich, you can be trans. In the same way that back in the day, if you were rich, you could be gay. You wouldn't go to jail if you were filthy fucking rich and you were found out to be having sex with another man. You wouldn't go to jail. I mean, Oscar Wilde, I suppose that was the most celebrated case of it. But that was only because he was pursued mercilessly by the Marquis of Queensberry, which is the gayest name you could possibly imagine. The guy apparently came up with the rules of modern boxing. He did, and he stole them from someone else, of course. But it was his son, Boise, who was the boyfriend of Oscar Wilde. And because of that, and because he pursued him through the legal system, that's why Oscar Wilde ended up penning the Ballad of Reading Jail. And people like Farage, people like Cummings, people like Boris Johnson, Rees-Mogg, Michael Gove, Rishi Sunak, wealthy enough to bypass nearly all of the consequences from Brexit. Because authoritarians like them, they've got something missing from their soul. They are vindictive arseholes. And like I say, it's not enough for them to be in first class. They want the rest of the train empty. They want the rest of the flight empty. They don't want anyone else on board their ship. They want the Titanic just for first class passengers. Because they don't want to even see us. They don't want to look at us. They don't want to hear us. They don't want to smell us. Because we, to them, just represent the useless eaters of the world. This is the mentality of the Brexit elite. And now look at what they're doing with the price of airfares, making sure you're not going to go on summer holiday this year if you could afford it. By the way, if anyone should drop some super chats in, we do have a confetti cannon ready, primed, ready to go. But I know everyone's a bit short at the moment, so just what you can. The thing missing from their soul is their soul, says Gallifreyan Wren. Yeah. Graham's being a bit of a Debbie Downer, although I can't say I blame him. There's a lot going on. Yeah, well, let me get to the end, because there is a fight back here. There is a definite fight back. But authoritarians, okay, they hate movements, right? They also hate education. They fucking hate education. They want to separate off their children, their crotch spawn, their sex trophies away from everyone else's children, right? They don't want their children to have to deal with the rest of us, with the rest of society. And Trump in America consistently attacks universities. Over in this country, we had Suella Braverman last week talking about Mickey Mouse degrees, which I fucking hate that expression. No university offers Mickey Mouse degrees because they cost a fucking fortune and no one's going to take them. You might have a section of a degree that is looking into a particular thing that other people might find facile. And you could do your PhD. If you're going to do a PhD, you can pick any topic. If you're doing linguistics, yes, you can do a PhD in studying Klingon verb conjugations or whatever. Yeah, you can. You can definitely do that. But it's not a course that the university offers. But they know that. But they know that people who they want to get on side are not people who've gone to university. So they don't really know how it works. They're very easy to manipulate. When you don't know how things work, you're very easy to manipulate. People just fucking lie to you. The far right constantly attacks academics, students, intellectuals, experts, libraries, museums, stately homes that have the real history of how they were built, why they were built, where did the money come from? Slavery. Oh, don't put that. Don't tell people it was slavery. Oh, that'd be the worst thing ever. Because education exposes people to complexity. Education allows people to read books, to understand Shakespeare, to understand the concept of walking in someone else's shoes. The concept of empathy comes through education. And authoritarian policies, they need simple enemies, simple slogans, simple fears. And travel does pretty much, it's education plus, you know? Like, travel is an education. Even if you just stay in the same hotel and just go down to the beach every day, there will be a slight interaction with people from the country that you're in. There will be. There has to be. You can't have a commune of just people who are exactly like you. And travel broadens your perspectives, you know? Someone who's traveled widely, someone who's met immigrants, someone who's you know, traveled with refugees, someone who's lived abroad. It's much harder to radicalize with simplistic, nostalgic, nationalistic bullshit propaganda. It's an inoculation. It's like an inoculation against bullshit. My bullshit detector is off the fucking charts. I'm so good at it. And I think the reason I'm so good at it is just because I've traveled so much. I've seen so much of the world. I am bigging myself up here, but genuinely, it takes me about a fucking second to look at something on the internet and go, oh, there's something not right with that. You know, me northern bullshit detector starts fucking tingling. But I'll say this, right? I studied history and politics through A-level, through university, up to the age of 21, till I got my degree, right? I learned more about history and politics a couple of years later when I went traveling around the world for a year. I learned more in 1 year than I had done in the previous 5 years of A-levels and a degree about history and politics. I mean, that my degree gave me a good foundation. It gave me a foundation, absolutely, and opened my mind up to new possibilities. I won't deny that for a moment, and I'm not poo-pooing my degree. I think it was a good degree to do. I did history and politics. It was fucking interesting. I found it interesting. I wasn't bored shitless. And I learned stuff. I genuinely learned stuff. It wasn't just necessarily regurgitating what my teacher thought about a particular book or play. But the culture war, if you look at it, they're constantly attacking universities. They're constantly attacking cities. You hear about the urban elite, that they attack public transport. They attack international institutions. They attack multiculturalism. It's all connected. And I'm going to give you another fucking great example here. So we've talked about Brexit. We've talked about the price of fuel going through the fucking roof. That makes ordinary people not be able to travel. The World Cup in America. The World Cup should be one of humanity's great shared events. In this particular World Cup, they've got 48 teams. It's gone up from 32 to 48 teams. That's a quarter of the countries of the world. And I know there's more. There's about 216 members of UEFA. Of FIFA. That's still almost a quarter. That is insane, right? But what we've seen, instead of a shared event, we've seen ticket prices exploding, travel costs exploding, the surveillance increasing, the immigration fears increasing in America. When we talk about the ticket costs, they've gone up. From the most expensive ticket in Qatar a few years ago was $1,500. Now, the most expensive ticket is over $10,000 to watch the round ball. The travel costs. So if you're trying to get to the MetLife Stadium, which is in New Jersey, right, and you want to get there on public transport, and you're not a local, they're upping the price to over $100. $100 to get to the MetLife Stadium. Unfucking-lievable. The host cities have not been getting they've been missing their funding. There's security chaos. ICE is refusing to rule out enforcement around events. You've got countries like Iran who are participating in this World Cup. America's at war with them at the moment. Imagine traveling thousands of miles to celebrate a game of football and ending up having your social media looked through and you getting put in jail, waking up in a fucking internment camp, or even worse, a concentration camp in El Salvador, or being taken over to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Talk about destroying the spirit of a tournament. Working class fans, they're not going. No one. Any working class fans from anywhere in the world are not going to this World Cup. You might have some working class fans in Canada, in Mexico, maybe. Real football supporters. It was 30 years ago that, who was it? It was Gary Neville who talked about people eating their prawn sandwiches. And it was like a bit of a diss against the gentrification of football, right? And I think football tickets are just way too expensive at the best of times. But look, real football supporters have been replaced by corporate hospitality, influencers, luxury tourism, VIP experiences for the already rich. So not only do the filthy rich not want you to go and live in any country or even visit any other country, they don't want you going to sporting events, even if they're being held in your country. They want it for themselves and they don't want you there. Same thing happened to Premier League football, Concerts. How much does it cost to go to a gig now? Festivals. God, Glastonbury's going to be 400 quid. The next Glastonbury is going to be 400 quid per person. 400 quid. My first Glastonbury ticket was about 50 quid back in 1997. And half the people didn't fucking pay. Just gagged over the fucking fence. Housing, same thing. Same thing. Exactly the same thing. It's been priced out at the price range of your average person. Because the rich want it all for themselves. It's not enough for them to have one house. They've got to have 17. And then they've got to milk every single penny out the people who live in those houses. Education. The same. Education. We have a 2-tier, actually possibly a 3-tier education system in this country. We have the private schools, the grammar schools, and the secondary moderns. Just like we had in the 1950s. We're back there again, folks. And we have a system where we decide what part of town you live in, what schools your kids can go to, what schools they can apply to. If you live in a scuzzy part of town, your kid's going to go to the scuzzy school. Oh, well, never mind. Never mind the dead ends of that we give these kids at the age of 11. Sorry, kid. Your parents should have been born more. You should have been born more rich. It's your own fault, really, if you think about it. They want everything: security, health, They want everything gated by wealth. That's what they want. Everything gated by wealth. Security for the rich, insecurity for everyone else. The billionaire security state. The Nigel Farage getting £5 million towards his security, apparently, according to the Daily Telegraph, which always tells the truth, doesn't it? Nick Ferrari, privately educated, of course. Rich people increasingly living in gated communities with private healthcare systems. They're happy to use the NHS when it's an emergency. But for anything else, they want that. You can't have it. If you're rich enough in America and you live in a state where there's an abortion ban, it is very simple for you to fly to another state and get Plan B or the morning after pill. Or even have an operation if you need to, if you're that far along. That's something you can do. If you haven't got money for a flight, you can't do that. If you are trans and you are, you've got a trans, if your kid is trans and you want them to have some puberty blockers and you can afford it, you can fly somewhere where you can buy them. Switzerland or Turkey, I don't know. And then you can fly back. Here you go, kid. Have your puberty blockers. Cancer treatment. People who can afford it, flying to other places around the world to get cancer treatment, cancer drugs that you can't get here. The rest of us can't get them. The rich can. Gated communities, private healthcare systems, private schools, private transport systems, private security bubbles. The wealthy no longer wanting to spend any money whatsoever on functioning public infrastructure because they do not need it. It is not required for them. They stop caring about public transport. They don't use it. They don't care about NHS waiting lists. They don't use it. They don't have to wait. The only time they use the NHS is if they're going to A&E. Public safety, don't have to worry about it. They've got private security. They get £5 million off some Bitcoin twat from Thailand to pay for their security. Affordable housing, well, it's affordable for them, innit? They're fucking rich. Okay. We have two worlds. We are splitting into two worlds. The rich and everyone else. We're glooping apart. We haven't completely split off yet, but we're heading in that direction. We're very close to that direction. So much so that the rich talk about terraforming another fucking planet just to get away from the rest of us. That's how much they hate us. They would rather die of radiation poisoning on the surface of fucking Mars at minus 80 degrees C than spend another moment in our company. They hate us. And I think it's about time that we just turned around and shot that hate right back at them. Because we have got cannons of hate ready to go, primed and ready to go. Unfortunately, we keep shooting them at people who don't deserve it. People who've come from other countries, refugees, trans people, don't deserve it. They get a torrent of fucking hate. How about we turn off the water cannon of hate, right? And then we just divert it a little bit. And then we get the rich, line them up in our sights with the torrent of hate, and we turn it back on again. See you there. See you later. And let's talk about fossil fuels, which I think are fundamentally anti-democratic. Oil wealth concentrates power massively. Oil states are nearly always authoritarian, oligarchic, corrupt, dynastic, nasty. Renewable energy decentralizes power. Not just electricity, but political power as well. Solar panels on homes are inherently democratizing because you get to control your own power. That you have it in your power to do that. But obviously, at the moment, it's out of the range of the normal wage that people have to be able to afford to put solar panels on the rooftops, which is ridiculous because solar panels are so fucking cheap now. It's insane. But the solar panels on homes inherently democratizing. Fossil fuel dependency keeps populations vulnerable to price shocks, to wars, monopolies, cartel politics. Trump's alliance with oil interests. I mean, you're talking about short-term greed here because they know the oil's going to run out, But they're burning it as fast as possible because they don't give a fuck about the future. They don't give a fuck about long-term security. They don't care. They don't care about the quality of life of people on this planet. Because when we like to talk about climate change and how it's going to affect us, right? It's going to affect the people who can't move a lot more than the people who can move. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about the fact that these rich fuckers who are trying to curtail any method of getting anywhere, any chance of setting up a new life in a new country, they're taking that away from us. So when our towns go underwater because of the pollution that they've championed all these years, they can move. They can move to New Zealand. They can move to their private island in the Pacific on the top of a mountain volcano fortress thing, like Bowser from Mario. They can do that. They've got the money. You can't. You got to stay where you are. Invest in a snorkel. Have you noticed that? They're all leading up to something here. And it's not good. It's really, really not good. And if you can see it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see that through line of what these rich motherfuckers want to do, because it's not enough for them to win, the rest of us have to lose. Fossil fuel dependency keeps populations vulnerable to price shocks, to wars, monopolies, cartel policies, like fucking OPEC and OPEC Plus. Trump's alliance with this, the oil industry, it's diabolical. They are making so much fucking money. And, bit of pudding, bit of good news, as I talked about last week. The chaos may actually be accelerating our march towards renewables, which is great. Getting electrification, rail investment, battery tech improving, synthetic fuels as well being looked into. And the oil age might destroy itself through greed, I hope. But you see, they need us exhausted at the end of the day. Exhausted people are easier to control. And I know so many people who are just burning out. I'm so glad. I'm very, very, very privileged. I am a very privileged, very lucky individual. And I know that I get to go, once a year and spend a few weeks on an island, cutting up bits of wood, sweating a lot. But God, it's life affirming. I tell you, actually making things with your hands is fucking great for my mental health. I get to have a little bit of a sort of a break from it all. Although I am still always looking at the news because one day I'll look at the news and it'll say Trump collapsed on stage today, and I'll be like, yo. But yeah, they want ordinary people like you and I to spend all of our money on rent, food, fuel, healthcare, survival, and not have any left over to go traveling, to organize politically, to have any free time, to do anything else except be exhausted. What do you do when you're exhausted? You sit on the couch and watch the telly. That's what they want. Sit on the couch, watch the telly, don't go anywhere, don't see anyone, don't speak to any real human beings. Don't have a two-way conversation, whatever you do. And travel, for me, and for many others, I mean, it's not just it's not just that it's a fun thing to do, which absolutely it is. But it also creates aspiration. It helps with your confidence and your curiosity. It helps with international solidarity. Whereas poverty creates fear and exhaustion, resentment, tribalism, xenophobia, racism, homophobia, transphobia. That's why austerity and nationalism walk in fucking sync every time, in fucking lockstep together. Keep people poor, tired, confused, isolated, suspicious, and they become politically manageable. Oh, Lee, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Morning all, a small plug for Vegan Elite's channel tonight at 8 p.m. with Darren Daily Blase and some Muppet called Lee Corn. Oh, fantastic. That sounds really cool. I hope you have a good time at that. And please watch that. And before you watch that, watch me and Rach do the rabbit hole at 6 o'clock, 6 till 7. And then, I don't know, go and have something to eat. And then at 8 o'clock, please check out Vegan Elite's channel with Daily Blase, with Darren, our friend Darren, and also Lee. Cool. Sheffield, it doesn't help when thieves shoplift from charity shops. 100%. I was at Heart Foundation one, where some scrote went out with something else there. Well, yeah, there's always got to be scrotes, isn't there? I donated a few pet bandanas last year to the local RSPCA shop. Someone contacted me a few weeks later. They were selling them at 15 quid each. The most I charge is £7.50 for the XL. It's a bit cheeky. But then again, I mean, the money goes to helping animals. Also, yeah, it's not like they bought a load off you and then they're undercutting you, I suppose. I don't know. Tesco white t-shirts, local charity shop is here more pounds than in Tesco. Lol, lol, lol. I donate to a local Salford charity which has a shop. Yeah. Anyway, listen, just a bit of sort of personal reflection on all this, right? Talking about the ways that they've made it so it makes it very difficult for us to go out and see the world. What traveling taught me most of all is that most people are decent. And that's the secret that the rich do not want you to even contemplate. They want you concentrating on the few bad eggs, the people who are absolute shitbags that dominate our news cycle, that dominate the headlines, that dominate our lives. They want to make us feel like everyone out there is like that, and they're not. Most people are good. Most people are just getting on with their lives. They want to do the right thing. They want to be liked. They don't want to be feared. They don't want to be hated by the community. You'll have one fucking grumpy old Grinch, but everyone else, they're just getting on with it. And there's so much in a smile. And when you walk by, people from all different walks of life. And, hospitality exists everywhere. Nationality, it matters a lot less than the politicians, the nationalists, the patriots, the rich, the fucking landed elites want to pretend or want to make you think that it matters. The world becomes a lot less frightening the more you see of it. I mean, I did go into Africa on my own, traveling around. A white kid traveling in some other people's continent. And everyone I met, apart from a couple of police officers, were just really nice. In fact, I say everyone I met, apart from a couple of police officers. But before I got put in the jail cell in Congo. So I was in the Republic of Congo in Brazzaville. And I turn up and there's a police checkpoint. They don't know why I've turned up on an 18-wheeler, and they're a bit concerned. They don't know what's going on here. And they want to see me videotapes, and they look through the videotapes, and they decide that the guy in the video is Ali Bongo, who's just been elected leader of the neighbouring country of Gabon at that time. And I was taken to a police station, right? And then I'm sitting there with the chief of police, right? And he's asking me these questions, and he goes, "Do you like whiskey?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay." And he goes over, he gets a bottle of fucking Johnny Walker Black Label out of his desk, puts it down on the table, put a couple of glasses, pours it out for me. "Here you go, lad." I'm just like, okay, cheers. Drinking whiskey in the chief of police's bloody office. And he's like, "We'll sort it all out. We'll sort it all out." And I ended up that night, I slept on there was a two-seater couch in the chief of police's office. And I slept curled up on that couch. I got rudely awoken at 6 a.m. by a bunch of other police officers. I don't know if the chief of police had finished his shift or whatever, and he wasn't in. But then I was bundled into the back of a minibus and taken to the holding cell where I spent the next few nights. But I mean, that first night, I was being detained by the police, but I had a fairly comfortable bed. I wasn't sleeping on the fucking floor for a change. Even though I was curled up on a two-seater couch. All 5'10" of me. But yeah, strangers helped me. I found hospitality in very, very unexpected places. I went across the border into Iran. The guy I was coming over from the Kurdish region of Turkey, a place where I was told not to go by a lot of Turkish people, because I'll be kidnapped by the Kurdish people who live there, which is propaganda bullshit that a lot of people in sort of Western Turkey believe. And I sat down with the guy. He says, "Come into my office." So I sit down with him, and he speaks a bit of English. And he shows me a map. We sit down. He's got a map of Iraq. And he says, "You can go here. You can go to Erbil. You can go to Suleimania." And he's got a line on the map. He says, "This is all the Kurdish region. This is Kurdistan. You're very welcome here. You can be able to travel. That's fine. Do not go to Mosul. Do not go to Baghdad. Do not go to Kirkuk. If you go there and we catch you, we will deport you. If they catch you, they'll put you on YouTube. And this is back when, like, this is 2010. So this is when people were literally, being killed by extremists, and the footage of their execution was being put on YouTube. And that's exactly what he meant. But he sat me down with a cup of tea. Like, we were sitting there. They have very sweet tea up there in the mountains. And it's very hot, very sweet tea. You just have a little shot glass of it. So I'm sitting there drinking me tea. This really nice guy. He's just explaining it to me. He's like, just, be sensible, and then, good luck. Good luck. When I crossed the border into Sierra Leone, the doctor taking me temperature, because at the time there was swine flu epidemic going on, he gave me a hug. He gave me a fucking hug and welcomed me into his country. I mean, the kindness that I saw, like, I'll be on a bus or a shared taxi, and I'll be sitting down at the side of the road, and someone would share their bit of bread with me. These people with fuck all, and they come and sit next to me. Do you want this? Okay, thanks. Share bread with them. It's only a little thing, but this is from people with fuck all. And they gave me that because they just went, oh, look, there's a stranger there. Maybe they need some food. And you contrast that with the billionaire paranoia, the bunkers, the guards, the gated compounds, the razor wire fences, the fear-driven politics. And I often talk about, if the zombie apocalypse comes, it's not going to be like in the movies. It's not going to be like in the TV shows, because people will club together and form communities where they keep the fucking the zombies out together, because that's what people do in disaster situations. If a plane crashes on a village, it's not like these people turn up and go, let's all fight. Just start punching each other. They don't. They all get together and start helping people out of buildings that are on fire. They start putting fires out. They're like, what can I do to help? There's a line from Star Trek, apparently, one of the early episodes from the original series, where Kirk muses over the three most beautiful words in the galaxy, and Bones says, "Well, I love you." He goes, "No, please help me." And being able as a human to help another human is such a rush. It's such a release of endorphins. And maybe you could claim there's something a bit selfish about that, but at the same time, it makes you feel good. It's a good thing you've done, and it makes you feel good. It's a fucking win-win. It's better than any drug. It's better than fucking sex. Helping out another human being. It's fucking amazing. It's a great feeling. And we're not given the opportunity to do that enough, because the rich are fucking us. The rich are fucking us from every fucking angle, in every fucking orifice. They want a new feudalism. And it's our job not to give it to them. They want to shrink ordinary people's lives. Because feudalism wasn't just about economics. It was also about geography. It was also about people being born in one village, living their life in that village, dying in that village, never traveling, never mixing, never escaping. It's one step up from slavery. And modern reactionary politics often feel like an attempt to rebuild that. We talk about techno-feudalism, to keep people trapped financially, trapped geographically, trapped culturally, while the global elite remain global. Offshore accounts, yachts, private jets, international property portfolios, Bitcoin, crypto, NFTs. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Saz, who says, lovely community here. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The rich love globalization for themselves. They hate it for you. Well, here's the thing, right? Here's the pudding. They can't win. There's too many of us. And there will come a breaking point. Not like the poster that Nigel Farage put up, his racist poster that got people to vote for Brexit because they thought it would mean fewer brown faces in Tesco. But a point where enough people say enough. We're sick of this. And when we realise there's a fuckload more of us than there is of them, then they are going to have a huge fucking problem. Young people are fucking brilliant. They are internationally connected through the internet. They are culturally mixed like never before, like no generation before in this country. They are digitally global in a way that previous generations never were. They are accepting, not everyone, but the vast majority are accepting of people from other cultures, other races, religions, other sexualities. There's lots more people now who have a good, dear friend who is trans, or is gay, or a lesbian, or a Muslim, or a Jew, or someone from another country. And once people experience the wider world, it's impossible. Honestly, it's impossible to fully close their mind again. It just becomes an impossibility. And the answer to nationalism is not less contact. It's more. It's more travel, more exchange, more curiosity, more humanity. Because the more people see the world, the harder it is to hate it. The harder it is to want to see it fail. And for the people on the planet to live a shit life. I want the best possible lives for everyone on this planet. That would be fantastic, except for Trump and Farage and a few others. But the rich do what they want when they want to do it. None of these fuckers need to be involved in politics. Boris Johnson did it for a laugh. He just thought it was funny. He just wants to have parties. Nigel Farage just does it for the money. He just likes money, more money, more money. Trump just does it for the money and the accolades and the gold shit that he gets given. You know, shovel the gold shit towards the fucking orange tyrant. But we can, together, make the world better just by calling out their bullshit. It's all we need to do at the moment. It's all we can do, I think, you know, unless one of those billionaires decides to make a break for it and say, hey, let's build a better world for the future. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but you know, tell them there's a massive tax break in it for them, and then they might get on board, like what Bill Gates did. Cynical? Moi. The ultimate outcome is described in the film Soylent Green, where peasants are not allowed in the inner city. They live in poverty and slavery in the suburbs, says Andrew Wright. Yep. And what do they do with people once they've lived out their useful existence? They, well, I hate to spoil a 47-year-old movie, but yeah, Soylent Green is people, chaps. Rephrased so it can't be twisted. I am British. I adore my homeland, which is why I'll sooner eat my own feet than vote for reform and inflict fascism on the sweet, green and pleasant land. Yeah. But they want you to not feel safe here. They want you to not like this place. They want you to start hating this place. And I've fallen for this as well. You know, I genuinely have after the Brexit vote, and I got really dispirited about this place. When I finished my journey, I did, for a bit of a laugh, I did my League of Nations, and it was my 100 favourite countries. And I've taken it down now because I realised, well, you know, it's a bit shit sort of ranking countries. And obviously my experience in each country was very subjective. And you know, a white person going to a black country and saying, you know, this isn't what I was expecting. I wanted it to be blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit shit. So I got rid of it. But my top countries included Thailand and Egypt. I loved Rwanda. I loved Madagascar. Was in the top 5. But Bolivia, and it was all to do with experiences that I had. Iran was in my top 10. I think it was in my top 5 actually. So it wasn't like I was like, oh no, all the white Western countries are great and all the other countries are shit. I tried to be as balanced as possible and say, you know, I had a good time in this place. I don't care what people say about it. But I'll tell you now, England was number 1. back in 2012, coming off the back of the London Olympics, I was like, fuck it, what a great place to be. You know, I think I put something like, oh, pretty England, you've got no idea how lucky you are. I think that was my review of it. Now, I wouldn't even put it in the top 100. Wouldn't put it in the top 100 thanks to what the billionaires have done over the last fucking 15 years. Foreign billionaires, most of them. It's just only people who fucking live here. Or non-dom status billionaires in some other country interfering in our national psyche. And yeah, my attitude is, especially towards immigration, the more the merrier. Come on, peeps. We're full. I heard that in Australia. It drove me up the fucking wall. So much racism and xenophobia in Australia. And you'll see a bumper sticker on a car say, Australia's full. I once drove from the Great Ocean Road to Ballarat. I mean, it was about a fucking 7 hour, well, 7 hours. It's a fucking long fucking drive, that. It is a long drive. I don't think I saw a single car going the other way. Australia's full, mate. It's full. I'm like, no, it's fucking not. Are you kidding me? Have a look at a map of Australia at night, a satellite picture of Australia at night, and see where all the lights are. It's like all clustered around the coast on the right-hand side of the island, and then there's a little tiny bit on the left-hand side where Perth is, and the rest of it's just blank. The rest of it's like nothing. It's like, no fucking room for you, mate. Map, Great Ocean Road to Ballarat. Where the balls, 2 hours. 2 hours it is. So great, from the Great Ocean Road to Ballarat, I drove for 2 hours, and I didn't see another car come the other way. I mean, you've got to look at that and go, okay, yeah, I don't think you're full, Australia. I don't think you're full, mate. 2 fucking hours down the road. I mean, that happened to me up in the Northern Territory when I was driving around there. I went down a road called the A1, and it was literally, there was just one car there. I think that was the one in the number. The car was ours. That was our Holden panel van that we were driving for. Didn't see anyone. Didn't see another fucking human being for miles and miles and miles. But Australia's full. And they do the same thing here. Fucking Britain's full. It's full. No, it's not. It's nowhere near full. Are you kidding me? Go and drive down Kensington and Liverpool. See all the shops, right? Upstairs, they could be flats, all of them, but they're not. We're not full. Have a look at all those apartment buildings, all those luxury apartments that are empty in London. Because people just buy them as investments. Or in Manchester, there's a load of new ones. People buy them there's no one in them. You're telling me we're full. So there's no space. What about all that space? What about all those places? We've got nearly 1 million empty homes in the UK. 1 million of them. That's not including the places that are above a shop or a commercial place that could be turned into apartments. No. We're full. We've got for millions more families. Are you kidding me? You go up to Northumberland. I went to Northumberland at the weekend. It was lovely. Went to Alnwick Castle. But again, there's no one there. Like, it's fucking empty. Like, it's fine. But there's space. It's okay. It's George Dawes only. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Thank you very much. What gives me hope is that we're having conversations like this in a way that people didn't used to, so we can beat the fash. Yeah, George Dawes, absolutely. And I think pointing it out, because like I say with the fash, like the calling Nigel Farage the fash doesn't get through to the people who vote for Nigel Farage. Saying that they're going to have to pay 9% more on their council tax because they've voted in a refuck council and they're incompetent and they don't know what they're doing. That cuts through even better. Actually, not even like better. That just cuts through. Fucking wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. What is Australia full of? Someone tell me, please. Cunts. Sorry, I'm fucking with you. I love Australia, but yeah, there's a lot of racists in Australia. Red Danny says concrete over everything. No, I don't want to concrete over fucking everything. There's enough places for people to live that have already been built. You don't need to build new places. There's an obsession with building luxury apartments in city centres, student accommodation in city centres. You're like, okay, cool. So you got these buildings that are only occupied half the fucking year when the students are in. What the fuck? There's enough space for everyone and then some. You got millions of people. How many landlords are there now? How many people are renting? It's like 11 million people are renting in this country for private landlords. 11 million. So that means there are 11 million properties that can fit people in that the person who owns that property doesn't need because they obviously live somewhere else. They live in another house. I'm not talking about, having a lodger in your own home. No. I'm talking literally about fucking, yeah. It is crazy, isn't it? A man made a mud hut for £3,000. He said he'd been living there for about 10 years already. It looked more than £3,000 pounds. To be fair, a mud hut for £3,000 on TikTok. Yeah, I suppose. A mud hut. Let me think. So £3,000 would get you about 40 boats worth of soil from the mainland. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, that. What do you have on the roof? What was the roof made of? If it was made of wood, then there you go. Something to ease your throat after this. Oh, thank you, Kirsty. A £2 super chat to go and buy myself some lockets, and also, bum bum bum. Let's release the confetti. But yeah, thank you very much. It was very, very kind of you, Kirsty, there. With the £2 super chat, which allowed me to shoot off the confetti cannon. I like having it shooting off in the morning. Oh, that came out wrong. As the actress said to the bishop. Blimey, probably the fastest visit to Alder Hey, says Martin Harrow. Funniest trip to Alder Hey, I think, was when it was the December of 1995. A massive house party at my parents' house. Like literally half the sixth form were there, probably more. And one of my mates I drank too much, and he was a bit upset because I think the girl he liked had got off with someone else, and he fell on the ground, and we were like, "Oh, what do we do with him?" So I think we carried him up to Alder Hey Children's Hospital. This is when it was the old hospital, obviously not the new one that it's got now, and we took him into A&E, and they were like, "What do you want us to do?" And they said, "Well, he's not well or whatever." And they put him on a stretcher, and we're given his details. And I don't know if it would be the same now, but at the time it was like it was the day of his 16th birthday. It was the day. I think it was after midnight, right? And it was the day, and they were like, "Sorry, he's 16. We can't see him here. This is the children's hospital. He's not a child anymore because he's over 16." And we're like, "He's over 16 by like about 37 minutes." We're arguing with them, and then he's on this stretcher and he just sort of sits up, like a mummy in a horror film. He's just like sits up and like, what's going on? And they called his parents to come and get him. Oh, bless. But he was all right. Yeah, it was made me laugh at Alder Hey. They were like, "I'm sorry, he's 37 minutes too old to be treated here. He has to go to Broad Green," which at the time had an accident and emergency. They don't have it anymore. Oh no, my mum's watching this. Sorry, mum. I was only joking. It wasn't half the. It wasn't half the sixth form. It's just me and Kat and Ben Murray, a few other mates. It was just a handful of us. Half the sixth form. Seems it's just tissue damage. So ibuprofen 3 times a day and no sport to get them off school. It's PE then games day. Oh no. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. He's gonna have to stay off school and not take part in PE. I wonder if anyone else is swayed by people who turn up out of nowhere, shout in all caps, and say nothing else. Who does this work on? Themselves. They're working on themselves. They need a lot of work. But yeah, all caps, shouting, bah, 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 everything you say is like, and they're very, very fond of straw men, taking things out of context that you didn't say, or the arguments ad absurdum. So, for instance, you say there's enough space for loads more people in this country, and they go, "Oh, you want to concrete over the countryside?" Like, no, I literally sat here for at least, 45 seconds and explain where all the empty properties were that we could put people in. We don't have to build the fucking houses. They're already there. The apartments are already, the flats above the shops are already there. Just free up local authorities so they can take over these places if they're not being used, use it or lose it, and set them up so people can live there. Simple as that. Just joking. Record breaking. What's that? Record breaking? Just joking. Oh, is my mum not there? Oh, okay. It's just fucking with me. Hi, mum. Sorry about that party. But you know, there you go. Okay, so we are going to go over to the papers now. So, oh god. Okay. Just be warned. I go. I don't know who I upset to end up on this fucking ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous situation. But first of all, we've got Magic Mushrooms and Love, McCartney's new album. So Paul McCartney, at the age of 83, I think, has just released a new album, which is cool because he was in the Beatles, you know. Then we've got Polanski's false claims about Red Cross role during deputy run. So again, this. I think this is it's not a LinkedIn story. It's a story about GoFundMe or crowdfunder.com or something. And he put on the crowdfunder, he wrote, as a spokesperson for the Red Cross, and then wrote some, and he wasn't a spokesperson for the Red Cross, and he made a mistake, or someone else made a mistake on his behalf. I don't know, but yeah, they're really going through his previous and just trying to find up any fucking dirt they can. And this is why I'm never going to go into politics, because I don't want them to do that to me. I'm trying to be nice, because the way I see it is like some poor bastard would have to go through every single one of these videos. And there's over 1,000 of them. So, you know, some of them go on for 3 hours. You have to go through every single one to find out if I say something controversial. Like, God, I can't wait till Trump dies. Oh, I just did. Oh, well. It's going to be great. The big, beautiful day. Can't wait. Trump collapses. Trump collapses. Getting updates from the Walter Reed Hospital, and then you'll be on the train, you'll be on the bus, you know, you'll be on that walking down the street, and you just hear someone go, "He's dead!" and you'll know exactly who they're talking about. You'll know exactly who they are talking about. He's dead. But yeah, overstated, overrated, overrated. Hey, blah blah CW, you. Calm yourself. New powers treat Iran proxies as foreign spies. Criminals acting for Tehran face 14 years in jail. How about people working for fucking Russia? How about them going to jail for once? You know, like Farage or half the Tory party. There we have Leslie Manville up for Best Leading Actress at the Tony Awards there. Then we've got The Star, which has got Kim Kardashian with the outfit that she wore for the Met Gala, I guess, I don't know. And then we've got the story about Angela, stop going to Claire Rayner. The agony aunt, known as Angela Rayner, saying she's given up the vape. She's given up the vape. So there you go, that's front page news. We're still the only ones on your side. Starmer with boosted workers' rights, reduced NHS waiting lists, created 2,000 new GPs, stood up to Trump over Iran war, and we promise better is on the way. So, any trans people watching this, do you feel like Starmer is on your side? Do you still think they're the only ones on your not even like we're on your side? They're the only ones on your side. Yeah, I don't think that really. I don't think that cuts the mustard. And then there's a moving insight into Kylie's life there. This is me with lovely Kylie there. Crazy Kylie there. And then we've got the millions of middle-class voters gold, is that even a word? Gold by Polanski's cuddly rhetoric need to understand it's guaranteed to end in penury. Penury? Is that a kink thing? Misery and despotism. Beware the green menace on the front cover of the Daily Mail. Come on, we need to do that clip. Do you know what? I need to clip up that clip from. Hang on a sec. I'm gonna do this. Hang on. You just gotta bear with me for just 1 second, okay? I will be back in 1 second with this. We need to. We need to do this. We need to do this. Right. Hopefully this will work. Okay, here we go. Nice. Right, okay, shut that up. Okay, hopefully the sound will play. Hopefully. Oh, hang on. Ooh, did you hear that? Yes, you did. That's good. Right, here we go. Here we go. We're going to do this together. Press play. Let's go.
It's afraid. It's afraid!
There you go. Anyway, that's what I'm just thinking. Looking at the mail. It's afraid. Yeah. 30 Green candidates pros over anti-Semitism. Fucking hell. Beware the Green menace. It's afraid. It's afraid. Do you know what? What I should do, right, is just get a load of clips, from movies and stuff, and basically have them ready. Like I have the pop-ups, so I can just press a button and I can just have the bit from a film that I want to do. If you any ideas of things that I could have set up, like the bit where, in Aliens where it says, it's game over, man, it's game over. Or maybe the bit from Aliens where she says, mostly. Okay, so we're on to the next heinous front cover of the Daily Express. Imagine feeling unsafe going to the dentist, post office, butcher in this wonderful country famed for its freedom and multiculturalism. Vanessa Feltz, privately educated, of course, encourages people to stand up against anti-Semitism, which I encourage as well, to be fair. But she's still not a very nice person. Unremovable. Exclusive. Britain's broken asylum system laid bare as only 495 small boats arrivals from Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iran and Iraq have been deported since 2018. Well, how many people coming across in small boats are from those countries? And do people from Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iran and Iraq, all countries that have been at war or are at war or have tyrannical governments and in charge at the moment, how many people do actually get deported? How many are actual genuine asylum seekers? Because the countries they're coming from are fucked. Just saying, just play with the fear, the fear. So the Daily Mail's gone with the green menace. Green people are coming to take away your freedoms. They're going to tyrannize you. And then we've got Plastic Parade, talking about the Met Gala and the disgusting abomination that is the current wife of Jeff Bezos, who's got more plastic in her than Barbie, and a giant life-size Barbie doll. And she looks fucking horrific. I mean, Jesus Christ. What do we call her? Lady Cassandra. Lady Cassandra up there. We've got the Daily Telegraph here. Starmer could cost us elections as well, Welsh leader. Really? You're just realising this now, Mace. Okay. And then we've got the Duchess of Edinburgh there in Sophie, privately educated, of course, because she gets to be on the front cover. Then we've got civil service, fake office attendants in what the fuck scandal. This is a work from home scandal that people are saying they're going into the office 3 times a week, but they're actually not. So what? Don't care. They're getting the job done. Brexit blocks McCann suspects extradition. Madeleine McCann suspect Christian Bruckner cannot be extradited to Britain to face trial because of Brexit. Fuck me. I mean, I knew Brexit was bad, but the depths of the badness of Brexit, it's like an onion. It's like a Russian doll of shit. It's like a Russian doll, multi-layered Russian doll of shit. You open up the shit, and there's shit inside. You open up the shit, there's more shit inside. You open up the shit, there's more shit. Just keeps going all the way down to infinity. An infinite Fabergé egg of shit. Junk food crackdown may be put on ice. Labour is considering delaying the junk food crackdown as ministers scramble to limit a price surge triggered by the war in Iran. So great, the health of the nation is going to be affected by that. We've got report racist toddlers to police. Nurseries told. Well, kids do repeat what the parents say, and if the parents are saying racist things, well, the kids repeat them. Yeah, fair enough. Borrowing cost surge amid number 10 instability. Number 10 instability? What? How bad could the jet fuel crisis get? Which we covered this morning, I guess. Baz was going more, I want more. They're making a Moulin Rouge. Labour under pressure after UK borrowing costs hit 48-year high. Sorry, 28-year high. Did I say 48? 28-year high. And then we've got Beyonce Knowles there wears a skeleton dress to the Met Gala. Looking absolutely fab. Do you notice how the wife of Jeff Bezos just turned up in like a dress that she just got from Etsy? Funny that. And then fashion. Not even Etsy. That would have had some design to it. She just got it off fucking eBay. She's got a second-hand prom dress from eBay. Fast track hate crime cases, DPP tells staff. Prosecutors in England and Wales have been told to fast track hate crime prosecutions after a spate of anti-Semitic attacks. Fair enough. Come back to the Financial Times in a moment. Got the I newspaper here. Millions face flight cancellations as jet fuel shortage deepens and Iran ceasefire falters. All part of the fucking plan, mate. All part of the plan. And Starmer's saying to Labour mutineers, back me or you'll need another general election. No, you won't. Why would they vote for another general election? Don't talk bollocks. And then a target on the backs of UK Iran critics. This is the front cover of the Metro newspaper here. Saying Iranians in Britain who oppose their country's hardline regime fear they're on a kill list after the personal details were made public online. It's not great, is it? Okay, so let's see. What are you saying? Message retracted. Are we getting more trolls? Oh, great. Do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Right? Has anyone noticed that the Venn diagram for people coming on here and being a troll and there being an election is like a circle? Have you noticed that? We don't get trolls. We don't get any trolls for weeks, sometimes months on end. Not a single troll. And then as soon as there's an election, it's almost as though there's kind of like some automated service set up or some people are being paid to go and troll left-wing content creators for a bit. And then after the election, they all disappear. Have you noticed that? It's funny that, isn't it? I can't be the only one who's noticed that. But if you are being paid to troll, then, I suppose beats getting an actual, productive job. But if you aren't being paid to troll, then you're just doing it. You can get paid for that. That they pay people for that. Well, not for much longer because it's all bots now, isn't it? If you are an actual human being, which you're probably not. I mean, a real grown-up boy, like Pinocchio at the end of the movie. Yeah, I don't think you're one of them. I think you're a bot. I think you're like Data. Just a little robot walking around saying, I wish I knew your human feeling of love. Now I know why you cry. It is something I can never do. Because I'm a bot. There you go. I'm not a bot. I'm an actual human being. And that must drive the bots insane. Because I got the one thing that they don't have. A soul. And I'm a ginger. I shouldn't even have a soul. But I do. Stole it off the devil when he wasn't looking. The biggest problem with America is the beginning, the middle, and end. Says Mr. Grand Illusion. Yes. That's the biggest problem with it. My interest in the fuel shortage only extends as far as it increased food costs. But it increased the cost of everything. Absolutely everything. It's not just food. Everything all at once. Imagine feeling unsafe, average trans experience, says Gallifreyan. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be doing everything we can about the rising tide of anti-Semitism, which I do believe is a real phenomenon that is going on. But at the same time, yeah, that we should be giving help and support to other minority groups who are feeling similarly unsafe going out onto the streets of their city or their town or their village. It's just really fucking sad. Hey, Graham, give me my soul back, says Pete Dankart. Hey, are you the devil? Are you the devil? Hey, let's dance. Okay, so we're going to go to the tip now, or the Financial Times, as it likes to call itself. Can the EU stand firm against angry farmers? I don't know, maybe. The American Pharaoh looks to succession. The American Pharaoh, are they calling Trump the American Pharaoh? He's more like a fucking deranged emperor, the Caligula type, or Nero fiddling while America burns. Biennial spat, sour note over Russian entry. Artists perform at the Russian Pavilion at the Venice Biennial. Brussels has warned Rome and the event organisers that allowing the country to participate risks breaching EU sanctions. Well, there you go. Do you play the balalaika? Any Dr. Zhivago fans in the house? Hi. How you doing? We've got plunging stockpiles stoke fears of surge in oil prices. Global oil reserves plummeted at a record pace in April, and as the Iran war strained supplies and raised the risk of a sharp jump in prices before the summer travel season. Reeves and Bessent clash. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had a fierce row last month with the Chancellor in Washington. That was a news story in another newspaper yesterday, wasn't it? Quarterly reports at risk. The top Wall Street regulator has proposed ditching quarterly reporting for US-listed groups in favor of twice-yearly filings, hastening Donald Trump's deregulatory push for the rich to become even richer. Take all the money for the rich. They need all the money. O'Day conduct impugned. The Financial Conduct Authority has defended its fine and ban on Crispin O'Day, huge funder, privately educated, of course, huge funder of Brexit, telling a court he has been shown to be capable of threats, distortion of facts, and falsification. He paid for Brexit to happen. He was a big funder of Brexit. If you look at Crispin O'Day and go, yeah, oh yay, O'Day, he's got my best interests at heart. He's someone I'd leave my, young daughters in a room with for half an hour. I'll totally do that. Yeah. EQT boosts Intertech bid. The Swedish buyout group has raised a takeover offer for the FTSE 100 product testing and inspection company to more than £10 billion. Publishers sue Meta, Hachette, Macmillan, McGraw-Hill, Elsevier and Cengage, and author Scott Turow are suing the group and chief Mark Zuckerberg over alleged infringement of copyright in AI training. So all the tech bros who for years stopped us from downloading stuff, and then again, didn't Facebook get its first injection of cash from the guy who set up Napster? So, they've always made their money out of piracy, but it's all right for them, but you can't pirate stuff. Kyiv scorns truce offer. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has described Vladimir Putin's call for Victory Day truce on Saturday as utter cynicism, proposing instead an open-ended ceasefire with Russia. And then we've got the World Cup fairs, which I've mentioned earlier. Riles fans, US host cities for this summer's football tournament have been accused of exploiting fans with fare rises. Boston has lifted the price of train tickets to the City Stadium from $20 to $80. That was reported on about the MetLife Stadium last week, but it's a newspaper. We'll just tell you what happened last week. Long-term borrowing costs highest in decades as prolonged inflation looms. Mideast crisis deepens. Gilt yields top the 1998 levels. Elections add uncertainty. Reeves' buffer at risk. You never want to put your buffer at risk, do you? HSBC hurt by $400 million fraud-related exposure tied to failed mortgage lender. HSBC has taken a $400 million fraud-related charge due to its collapsed mortgage lender, Market Financial Solutions. God, that's a great name for a company, isn't it? Solutions. What do you sell? Solutions. Hitting quarterly profits at Europe's biggest bank and sending its shares down more than 7%. Merz back to square one in bid to keep Trump on side. Friedrich Merz's year-long bid to build a working rapport with Donald Trump fell apart in a school hall. The German chancellor's comments to pupils that Iran was humiliating the US were met with wrath. The president hit out at an ineffective leader by ordering troop withdrawals from Germany, ditching a missile deployment and threatening to raise tariffs. The reversal and criticism is a detracted add to Merz's woes as the economy and his ratings weaken, which is a bit of a worry because the AfD, there's elections this year in Germany, I think, and the AfD are doing rather well in the polls. And they are Nazis. Genuine, actual German pucker OG Nazis. HSBC, I see it again at the bottom of the FT. And then we've got Pete Dankat saying, I have a brother-in-law that loves his Northern Soul. He never shuts up about his glory days at Wigan Casino. Ha, sugar pie, honey bunch. Classic Hagger. Yeah, Northern Soul. Oh, great nights. Great nights out at the heebie-jeebies in Liverpool. Oh, such good nights out. Oh, take me back. Take me back to those days. Actually, I was in the heebie-jeebies on my birthday. So yeah, I can go back to those days because it's still there. Whee. Although you can never go back. You can never step in the same river twice because it's not the same river and you are not the same man. Said Socrates or someone, I don't know. We like buzzwords on Zero Internets, yeah. Nurse, they've escaped the padded room again. All caps, please. All caps, please. Tell me what you think in all caps. It's all good. It's all good. It's a bit annoying. I can't actually see what the messages were that I've missed. You used to be able to. You used to be able to click on it and say, show hidden message to me. But yeah, just stomp on the trolls, stomp on them. If you want to hit the subscribe button and join the conversation, you're very welcome to. But don't be a troll. That's my only plea to you. Do not be a troll, or you will be muted and booted. And then you can watch, but you can't actually interact in the conversation. If you've got something sensible to say, please say it. If you've got some valid criticism that isn't just reproducing what you've read on the front cover of the Daily Mail, or what someone like Nigel Farage, or some millionaire trust fund kid like Nigel Farage, some nepo baby, wants you to think. Or maybe it's what Elon Musk, his dad owned a emerald mine in early in apartheid era South Africa. Or maybe Donald Trump, whose dad was a racist landlord. A racist landlord. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Who gave his son a small loan of $500,000 to get started on his first business. I'd like that. Can someone give me $500,000? I'll pay that back 100 fucking fold if someone just believed in me enough. But wasn't born into absolute bloody riches. Oh my god, that was the big downfall of my life. Oh look, there's another dingus. Caps. It's a lost tracker. Caps. We want all the caps. Yes, crap about Polanski. Okay. Yeah. Just it's fine, This is the thing about trolls. Like, it's fine. You don't need to do it. If you are a genuine person, right, and you're not being paid by the billionaires to defend the billionaires, to defend the oligarchs, to defend the oil barons, the tobacco barons, the industrial military complex, the merchants of death. If you're not being paid, you're a fucking idiot. Like, honestly, you're thick as pig shit, because they pay really fucking well. Now, you have the courage of your convictions, and you're doing like shows like this and stuff like that because you care about the planet and the people who live on it, and your neighbors and your community and your country. I mean, fair enough. You're not going to get much money for it, but you got to give it a go. But if you're just spreading lies and hatred that already exists, if you want lies and hatred about the leader of the Green Party at the moment, Zach Polanski, just look on the front cover of the Daily Mail. It's there for you. It's there in black and white. You've got someone who's been paid to write that, and they're laughing at you because you're just doing it for free, which is like a mad thing to do. I think the pity the fool thing is the only thing that suits. Yeah, I do. It's hard to find the words to respond to that troll. Such a weak, shitty thing to say. I've missed it as well. Lee Coins jumped on that one. The trolls being paid in Russian rubles. 1 Russian ruble equals £0.0098 sterling. Not a lot. Fucking Russians. Do you know what, right? Before we go, let's look forward to the big, beautiful day. Not just the one where Trump carks it, but when Putin goes. And that day could be getting closer and closer. I mean, obviously, every day it's getting closer because that's just the way time works. But once Putin's gone, right, here's the thing. Whoever replaces him is not going to be one of his gang. Because all his gang are fucking incompetent. All the people around him are incompetent. That's why they haven't won this war in Iraq, in Ukraine. A war that's dragged on for Russia longer than World War One. Now it's dragged on longer than their involvement in World War Two. Last month they took not an inch of land. Not an inch. Not a single fucking dirty inch of land. Of dirt. Not a dirty inch of dirt was taken by the Russians. And yet, over 15,000 Russians were injured. Thousands of them died. Thousands of Russians dying for not even an inch of land. It's unsustainable. There will come a point where they take Putin out. Just imagine a world without Putin. Because if it wasn't for Putin, you wouldn't have had Orban. You wouldn't have had Duterte. You wouldn't have had you wouldn't have had what was the name of you wouldn't have Silvio Berlusconi. You wouldn't have had in Italy. You wouldn't have had what's the Brazilian guy's name? I can't remember his fucking name now. Bolsonaro. You wouldn't have had Bolsonaro. You wouldn't have Javier Milei. You wouldn't have had the Al-Assads running Iran. You wouldn't have al-Bashir running Sudan into the ground. You wouldn't have. I mean, the Iran would have come to the the table a lot earlier than it did with the nuclear deal that was finally achieved in 2015 and then ripped up a couple of years later by Trump because he wasn't the person to achieve it. But you wouldn't have had Trump. Trump would not have won. Brexit wouldn't have happened without the backing of Vladimir Putin, which is why I'm very sus about people who voted for Brexit. Because, I mean, like, whose interests were they voting in? Because it certainly wasn't the interests of this country, but it was massively in the interests of Russia. Whose interest was it to not have a European army? Not us, who were European. You know, you've got to be worried about the armies that you're not in, not the ones that you are in. We've already got NATO, which comprises of 32 nations from around the world. And when I say around the world, I mean all of them are from Europe. 30 of them are European, and 2 of them, America and Canada, are not. That's it. That's NATO. So effectively, it's a European army anyway. So of the countries that want to be involved in that, actually, it's a bit of a European army. Plus, it's bigger than the EU. The EU's only got 27 members now. There are members of NATO that are not part of the EU, like Norway. But yeah, whose benefit was it for the pound to go down? And it stayed down. It's never got back up to where it was in 2016 before that referendum, fraud-referendum. Was it in our interest to scupper our reputation around the world as a power, as a soft power, to whisper in the ears of the speak truth to power around the world, and we ended up looking like a fucking basket case, like a bunch of unruly dickheads run by a bunch of unruly fucking oversized school children who never left fucking school in their heads. Arrested development at the age of 12. And you know what? Like it's not just that. It's the way that they actually thought and Farage, who's, don't forget, Farage's right-hand man, the guy who's in charge in Wales, is now languishing in jail for helping out the Russians and reading out Russia propaganda points in the European Parliament. He worked for Nigel Farage. But yeah, they put out the idea that if Britain left the EU would fall apart. Don't forget the domino thing, we would be the first domino and it would all fall apart. Yeah. That was the USSR style thinking, the domino theory that the USSR had when it was the USSR. They thought that, so the Americans had it as well. They thought, if one country goes, if one country in the area goes communist, they'll all go communist. The domino theory, which didn't happen. But who would it benefit for the EU to fall apart? Vladimir Putin. It wouldn't benefit anyone in the EU. It wouldn't benefit us in the UK. Making trade more difficult. Wouldn't benefit our farmers, wouldn't benefit our workers who lost their rights, wouldn't benefit the people having children, wouldn't benefit people without children, wouldn't benefit anyone who wanted human rights to be able to just live their life. Wouldn't benefit us at all. It'd benefit fucking Putin though. Fragmented countries, much easier to fuck around with rather than a big fucking alliance. Tends to keep the wolf at the door. When Vladimir Putin goes, the world will change. The world will change massively. Because whoever replaces him is not going to be like Vladimir Putin, because he can't be. Anyone like Vladimir Putin has been killed by Vladimir Putin. So it's the irony of these. It's the irony of tyranny. You have a tyrant, and they don't put competent people around them, and to leave you with a spring in your step, a bit of pudding. The Nazis weren't defeated because they, the forces marshalled against them were so vast. There was a good chance that the Nazis could have developed a nuclear bomb first. If they did, that's game over. They would have won. You think they drop a bomb on a nuclear bomb on London, we wouldn't have capitulated? Of course we fucking would. I mean, we might have had a resistance movement going in the UK, but if they had got the bomb first, America would have gone, fuck that, I'm not fighting against that. Not our war. They might have continued fighting against the Japanese, but not against the Nazis. They would have just got, okay, you do what you want. What ruined it for the Nazis is incompetence, you see? Because the thing with tyranny is this, right? They're all fucking incompetent. Because they have to surround themselves with incompetence. Because if they surround themselves with people who are competent, those people will one day wake up and go, why aren't I in charge? There's nothing stopping them. The higher upper echelons of the elites are basically running to anarchy at that point, where it's just, it's like the golden bough. You can live the life of Riley, but you've got to kill the last person who's there, and then you've got to look over your shoulder for the whole time that you're in charge, because someone else has got to come and fucking take you out, mate. But this is the thing: incompetence. You look at the incompetence in Russia, and the fact that they couldn't win a war against Ukraine. They've lost half of their fucking navy in the Black Sea to a country that doesn't have a navy. They don't have air superiority after over 4 years since the big invasion. They still don't have air superiority. They never had, not for a moment, over Ukraine. Ukraine fought back like no one expected them to. At least the Russians, because they're so fucking incompetent. You saw the state of their tanks and their fucking shitty guns that don't fucking work if they get wet, and their tanks that just broke down on the road to Kyiv. Incompetence. You look at Trump, incompetence all around him. The reason why they fail is because of their incompetence. They're just not very good at what they do. They're not very good at their jobs. Kash Patel is in charge of the FBI, and yet someone made a fucking run through the security in the hotel a couple of weeks ago to go and kill Trump and, the entire Republican line of succession. Wowzers. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. But you look at the councillors that have been elected by refucking, and refucking going to do well tomorrow. Steel yourselves, because they're going to win a lot of seats, right? But here's the thing: 10% of the 1 in 10 of the councillors that got elected this time last year, right, in places like this in Durham, have either left, become independent, sacked it off, left the party, whatever, right? They're gone. They're not refuck councillors anymore for one reason or another. 1 in 10. 1 in 10. And why? Because of the fucking incompetence. The guy in charge of Durham City Council, Andrew Husband, his last fucking business went bump, owing £1.5 million to the creditors and to the Chancellor. Money, a lot of money that they're taking in COVID loans. We paid for that. We paid for that money. And because it's a limited company, he took his wages, he took what he wanted out of it, and he's sitting pretty in his fucking manor house. And then he goes, "Yeah, I think I ran as a councillor. A councillor. What hell?" Like a right old toffee cunt. So yeah, the fash, their incompetence will always be their end. Always, 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 always. And to quote the line from Andor, which I fucking love, in the manifesto in Andor, talking about fascism, talking about authoritarianism, it's brittle, it breaks because it's so unnatural. And it never lasts. It never, ever lasts. That's why they had to try and keep people in line and make them think a certain way and go a certain way and go along with it. And they have to say outrageous things to make the slightly less outrageous things seem more palatable. Let's use every fucking trick in the book. But at the end of the day, if enough people feel their life is not going the way they wanted it to, then they don't feel free just to do the basics, then it all falls apart. And the incompetence of the Tories was why they suffered their worst election defeat since the 1830s in the last election. Down to 115 MPs now they have, the Tories, 115 MPs. That's insane, isn't it? How many Tory MPs are there? Because a couple of them have left to go to refuck, haven't they? Sorry, 116. 116 Tory MPs. Do it'd be really fun if it turns out that a Tory MP defected to refuck while I've been on this morning and Google just hasn't updated it yet. But there you go. Have we got another block? We've had another one that's blocked. This is brilliant. Curing hypocrites. Wary 949. Why is my phone buzzing like it's on fire? What's going on? People are texting. What? Why are people texting me? Stop it. Stop being friendly. Yeah. Oh God. Cats on the train. Train is packed because the cross-country train before it was cancelled. There's people standing up on the train. Yeah. It's all fun and games, so you have to stand all the way to fucking London, eh? Or wherever you're going. Yes. Anyway, right. I was told this morning by a friend that the pro-EU Prime Minister of Romania has quit, which is not good. No, that's not good. Yeah, but depending on how their system's set up, I assume that they would get another Prime Minister who's from the same party. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, look, the things you've got to... Well, look, I don't want to tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you what to do. The thing that keeps me going, the thing that just like puts a spring in my step, makes me wake up every day with a smile, right, is friendship, to be honest with you. But also this, right? Most people are all right. They are. They genuinely are. Unfortunately, because of the way our brains work, we'll have 100 people say nice things to us, and then we'll have one who says something nasty, and that one person will stick in our heads. It's just the way we are, right? But the reality is, for every one nasty pasty you meet out there, there's 100 people who are lovely, who will do anything for you, especially if you're a stranger and you look like you're in need. And no matter what tricks or idiotic fucking power grabs these mad, greedy, grubby grifters like Nigel Farage and Donald Trump, who just want to feather their own nest, clearly just go into politics to make more money. Don't forget, like, the only time that Donald Trump made a serious effort to become president was after the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court, in which said, political donations are unlimited. And his ears picked up and he went, unlimited? You say unlimited? They can give me as much money as they want? Fantastic! He went around saying to these companies, get me elected, saying to the billionaires, get me elected, and I will smooth the paths for you to all become trillionaires. That's what he said to all the billionaires, and he has done. He fucking has done. Deregulation. But giving them poly market tips, giving them stock market tips before he goes and announces something, he tells his close group of people. So the 50 or so people who have made all these bets on the stock markets in America and on gambling sites like Polymarket, what they've done is they've paid Trump billions to be part of the exclusive Trump club that spills the beans on what Trump is about to do. And they've paid him billions to do that, and they are making billions back from knowing that the price of oil is going to go up or it's going to go down. They're investing in oil futures, and what's going to happen with the chipsets that they need to push for the AI revolution. He's in control of that as well. He's saying, oh well, we're going to do this deal with Taiwan, and he knows that that's going to make the share prices go up. And then he says, oh, we're not going to help out Taiwan if China tries to invade, and then the share prices go down. But the people who have paid the privilege of being in the golden circle of Trump, he lets them know. He lets them know, and he can do that because he's above the law. Unlike King John, who was forced to sign the Magna Carta against his will, because it did say there has to be checks and balances on the power of the king. It did say if the king breaks the law, then we can chop the king's head off, which we did. Charles I, head chopped off. That's what you get for introducing a fucking poll tax. Well, it was a ship tax, wasn't it? Good luck introducing a new tax, people. Let Charles I and Margaret Thatcher's ignominious demise be a warning to you all. Don't introduce new taxes. Just tinker with the ones you've already got. Gallifreyan Ren. When I was made homeless and on the train to my friends, I got speaking to a couple. I told them my story. They gave me £50 on the spot. The kindness of strangers indeed. Oh, that's really lovely. I'm sorry you got made homeless, but I mean, that's, like I say, there's lovely people out there. When I was doing a run to Ukraine back in the March of 2022, I was in the car park of Costco in Liverpool, and we were stocking up. I think because we had like a checklist of things that they'd asked for on the border, and one of them was like nappies or something. So I was filling the car up full of nappies, and a woman came over and she saw that we had these UK for Ukraine stickers or magnets. magnets on the magnetic signs on the side of the car. And she said, are you going to Ukraine? And we were like, yeah. And she went, here you go. And she just gave us 20 quid. Just gave us 20 quid there and then. You know, and the people want to help. People do want to help. They want better things for people. And I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of politicians make is being too hands-off with people who want to help. And obviously I've mentioned before about how infuriating it was for people who were members of Labour, especially in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, when we were fighting against Brexit and we were getting no help at all from the Labour leadership at the time of the day. And it was like there's so many people who want to help. They want to help. And Jeremy Corbyn, he could have been the fucking Prime Minister. All he needed to do was say to the people who wanted to stop Brexit, okay, I'll back you. But he wouldn't do it. He's stubborn like a fucking mule. And then when he had the opportunity to go in for a government and national unity, when the Tories didn't have a majority, when they're taking the whip from all of anyone who was slightly on the side of like, well, maybe the EU isn't the great Satan or something, and they were in a minority government. They couldn't get anything through without the without the acquiescence of. First of all, it was the DUP, but then eventually it became fucking all the other parties. They needed those votes. They needed those votes to get stuff through Parliament. If they didn't get the votes, they were kind of fucked. And there was talk of a government of national unity, like serious discussions going on in Parliament at the time. And the then leader of Labour said, no, unless I can be the leader, I'm not accepting it. They were talking about maybe like Harriet Harman or something to be sort of an interim leader, get us through Brexit. Decide what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and just sort out this fucking mess that the Tories and the refuckers, well, back then it was the UKIPers, had created for us. But no, his ego wouldn't allow it. His ego wouldn't allow it. His ego wouldn't allow him to join in with us on the left, who were fighting against Brexit, the flagship right wing policy of the right wing, of Farage and of Boris Johnson, and of all the fucking tyrannical billionaires and billionaires that run our country into the ground day in, day out. Didn't want it. And so when people want to help, genuinely want to help, take their fucking help. Take their fucking help. Don't be so high and mighty. Don't be so ego-driven, like, I can do this alone. I don't need anyone's help. I can just do it. I'm magic. I'm made of magic. Look at me. I can do it all. Can't. You just can't. No man is an island. Except the Isle of Man. Okay, gentle reminder, bollocks to Brexit, says Kirsty. Yes, Kirsty, my friend. We went on a lot of marches together, didn't we, Kirsty? Back in the day. But yeah, bollocks to Brexit. Martin, did it convince you and change your mind? What, being shouted at by Rhino Inv 154? Isn't this mad? Like, there's we don't get a single troll for months and months on this channel. I mean, there's only 100 people watching. I mean, it's not like we're huge. It's not like we've got thousands and thousands of people coming from all over the world. And then suddenly, the day before local elections in England and Senate elections in Wales and parliamentary elections in Scotland, suddenly it's like, oh my God, trolls are out. The trolls have been allowed out. Who left the lock off the cunt farm? Anyway, listen, I'm going to get going now. I will be back tonight at 6 o'clock with wonderful Rachel. We'll be jumping down the rabbit hole together, which is our Anything But Politics show. So please join us for that, where we'll be talking anything but politics for an hour. And then Ben Chambers is coming around. We're going to watch some horror films tonight. Yay! And then tomorrow we have the normal morning brew in the morning. And then we might do an episode of Geoscope that we couldn't do yesterday, but we might do it tomorrow. That'll be in the evening. Then at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll be starting our all-nighter. We'll be pulling an all-nighter. So stock up on the coffee and the Baileys and the confetti and the Abdul's kebabs. We're doing an all-nighter, so we'll be going through until the wee small hours as results from Wales, Scotland, and England pour in. And, you know, there might be some unexpected results. We're expecting Labour to get their arses handed to them, and I think a lot of people watching this probably think Labour deserve getting their arses handed to them in this particular election. But it's going to be interesting to see how many seats the Greens pick up and how many seats the vile, the disgusting, the gruesome, the terrible, terrible, ugly people at Refuck get in. Because God, they're minging. I mean, not just like their outside appearance, you can't help that, but like, you know, people, I subscribe to the Roald Dahl, even though it's a massive anti-Semite, but I ascribe to the Roald Dahl school of thinking of this in his book, The Twits, where he says that when people have ugly thoughts, it sort of externalizes it. And you look at someone like Katie Hopkins, privately educated, of course. Don't look at her too long, because, or Suella Braverman. I mean, I've got to say, there are a few people on the right who I think are quite tasty, but I'll never admit to it. I'll never admit to it. But yeah, most of them, fucking hell. It's like they're falling out the fucking Minga tree and hit every branch on the way down. Anyway, so stay beautiful, my friends. And, you know, you think beautiful thoughts and be nice to people and fucking smile and just get on with your day and just be positive, because one day this too shall pass. And I know it's a bit shit right now, but things are getting better. Gradually, slowly, incrementally, but they genuinely are. And let's hope that this experiment that has been going on my entire life so far, from all throughout the 80s, the 90s, the 90s, the 10s to now, this experiment of neo fucking feudalism, this experiment in unbridled capitalism, this experiment in neoliberalism comes to an ignominious end as people rise up against it in the best possible way by working together, creating co-ops, creating structures, and creating groups, companies, ways of creating awesome shit without it feathering the nests of the tyrannical billionaires who just want to live in a concrete fucking bunker with no windows, because that's the future that excites them for some reason. I don't know. I think these people are fucking weird, as well as being minging. Toodles all, trans rights are human rights. Absolutely couldn't agree more, Kirsty. And according to Lincoln, by the age of 40, a man has the face he deserves. Okay, cool. I still got a little bit of boyish charm, I think, about me. You know, at the grand old age of 47. I'll tell you what, I do think that I mean, I'm biased, obviously. I do think I'll look a lot younger than 47-year-olds looked when I was a kid. Anyway, Saggy McSags says Suella is hot. No, don't have to delete that. Why are you deleting Suella is hot? You know, each to their own. Each to their own. I'm not gonna diss that. You know, I'm gonna diss your kink. Hey, but yeah, Suella for me, she's like fucking blobfish. Anyway, listen. So I'll be back at 6 o'clock tonight, and until then, no prime minister's questions today. So until then, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for the super chats. That was really generous of you. Thank you, very kind of you. If you haven't already given us a like, please give us a like. We always like a like on this channel. That was the subscribe animation. This is the like animation. Get it right, Graham. There you go. Give us a like. Hit that thumb. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you want to hit the bell notification icon, that will allow you to get a ping in your pocket when we go live. Like yesterday, me and Jack did a really good episode of Reform Watch, where we went through a lot of the shit that we have been getting up to, the millionaires and billionaires that the private school party. Private school, all private schools. You know, their MPs, they've got 11 MPs, 10 of them went to private school. 10 of them went to private school. The only one of their MPs that didn't go to private school is Leanderthal, who used to be Labour, and then he was a Tory. And there's, Jesus, more parties than a birthday clown. Anyway, I used to like Pingu Not so much. Oh, what's wrong with Pingo? Leave Pingo alone. Leave Pingo out of this. Okay, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.